Hello everyone, Jessica here from the Healing Hands Duo. I do get into what happened to me over the last 2 years in the next little portion of this video. I just wanted to come on here and clarify. In one portion of the video, I talked about how, using these modalities, particularly what I'll be talking about today is the power of light therapy and how that's helped me in my healing. I don't want to say that it healed what you're going to find out later. I discuss a fistula. I still do have a fistula tract, and I am looking at getting a surgery in the coming new year. However, on the flip side, a lot of people who have unfortunately suffer with conditions like this go on to experience years of pain and suffering. A lot of people have to go on antibiotic therapy, and I did none of that. And although I did suffer with a lot of pain in the first, I would say, 6 to 8 months, and it continued on for quite a long time where I had what was called perianal abscesses. I was able to manage the pain through doing various different modalities, but light therapy was a big part of that for me. And I think that's one of the reasons why I've been able to hold off on getting a surgery for so long, because I was trying to find the optimal practitioner to do this procedure, just because this procedure is so delicate and it often fails. I've talked to people who have gone through 5, 10, 20 surgeries and they've been completely mangled down in the area where you would normally get fistulas. The reason why I wanted to come on here is because I wanted to clarify. I want people to still know that it hasn't healed it. Red light therapy in general, NIR, is very useful. Even something called low-level laser light therapy can be very helpful for healing wounds that are difficult to heal. And when I did originally have my infection, which I truly believe came from a colonoscopy that went south and became a nightmare for me, because I went in for a routine colonoscopy for my Crohn's disease, and then I developed a perianal abscess from an infection from an ulceration that I had in the rectum area. It's a long story. I don't want to get into all of that, but I ended up having 7 exit wounds that were draining consistently all the time. And like I said, it was excruciating, and I used light therapy, and I have been using light therapy ever since it happened. I say that I've been struggling off and on with going into flares for the last couple of years due to stress. And when I developed the abscess, and which then turned into what's called a fistula tract, it started I would say this started last year in May. And so I've been kind of struggling with it ever since. But however, I would say that it's all been managed holistically through using things like ozone and light therapy. So this is what this video is going to be all about. I'm not going to get into extreme details about the fistula. I want to set aside like a complete hour to discuss what happened to me, what I did in its entirety to try to manage that, who I'm going to see. It's not a conventional surgery, which means I've been trying to save up to do that because it is going to be done out of a private practice. At one point, I thought I was going to have to go all the way to India. By the grace of God, I found somebody much closer to me in my own country that can actually do the procedure. It's just that it is very expensive. And honestly, at this point, it's just a matter of finances. So with that said, I'm going to jump into this video. It's about half an hour long. By all means, you can purchase your panels from whoever you want, but if you do purchase through my affiliate links, obviously I make a little bit of a commission, and that does help me to continue on my work. And it will also help probably go towards the surgery that I'm currently saving up for. I always encourage you to do your own research. This information reflects our own research expertise and personal healing journey and is shared for educational purposes only. Okay, I'm going to dive right into the video now. And again, this was done first thing in the morning, so I obviously hadn't done my hair, hadn't gotten dressed or anything like that. I prefer to do my light therapy first thing in the morning, and I'll get into all of that in the next bit of this video. About 2 years ago, I took a hiatus from the internet because I did have a major health complication due to my Crohn's disease. I think after years of dealing with the stress of the pandemic, having lost several people in my family due to various different health challenges that they had at the time. My mother-in-law passed away due to cancer, and my father passed away due to heart disease. But I think it was really due to medical malpractice. Anyway, I don't want to get into all of that. The stress of all that sent me into a spiral for over a year and a half, and it set off my Crohn's disease, which had been in remission for a while. I developed something called fistulizing Crohn's disease, and it is something I don't wish on my worst enemy. I was in a lot of pain to the point where I developed what is called a perianal abscess. The infection became septic. I ended up in the hospital. In order to reduce my inflammation, they did put me on steroids. This would have been almost 2 years ago now, for 30 days. And then I had to have the abscess surgically drained, which led to a further complication called a fistula. Anyway, with that said, obviously I've been in the health and wellness realm for a long time. So when this all happened to me, I felt completely defeated. I also realized that being on the internet every day was really taking a toll on my body, especially with everything that was going on in my personal life. So I decided to step back and really fully concentrate on myself once I decided to leave the hospital, because at that point things had gotten pretty bad where they wanted to put me on biologics, and I refused to do that. And I knew that I had brought myself out of dire situations before, when I was first diagnosed with Lyme disease and Crohn's disease back in 2008. And I knew it was just a matter of getting my autonomic nervous system to regulate again, because one of the biggest things with everything that had happened over the pandemic is that I was really suffering with a lot of stress. Obviously, my autonomic nervous system was dysregulated because of all of that, and honestly, I let a lot of things slide. During that process, things got very dire. I lost up to 30 pounds. I was essentially 88 pounds, and I was completely wasting away. And as you guys know, I have really advanced clinical grade equipment, ozone therapy, transdermal ozone plasma, far infrared technologies, and energy sauna, all these things that I have in my studio. But the problem with a lot of that stuff is I've always talked about how you want to introduce a bit of oxidative stress into the body in order to get the immune system to recognize certain things in the body. But when you're in a state of complete malnourishment and disarray, and you can't regulate, doing oxidative therapies can in fact add more oxidative stress. So I couldn't do that. So this is where I started to really dive deep into what I could do to support my body as I was slowly rebuilding my body. I wanted to be able to reduce my inflammation, and I wanted to slowly rebuild my body through nutrition, which again, that gets into a video that I will eventually do on my YouTube channel that may be over an hour long, because there was a lot that went into that. In fact, I'm writing a whole protocol because, again, this is almost 2 years later. I've gained over 30 pounds. Unfortunately, fistulas are a very complicated, non-healing wound that usually requires surgery. But long story short, I've been able to rebuild my body almost 100% holistically, other than going to the hospital 2 years ago where I did 30 days of steroids. I stopped everything after that. They, of course, wanted to admit me to the hospital. They wanted me, like I said, on the biologics, and I refused to do all that. And I said I was going to do it holistically. The reason why I'm popping on here now is because I wanted to really share some of the amazing things that I used during that time, but just the amazing things that I continue to use on a daily basis to support myself holistically. One of the things that I had shared a video about a few days ago was a free webinar to learn more about light therapy. You guys know I've been using some form of light therapy, electromedicine, or ozone for probably, I want to say I was diagnosed in 2008. By 2010, I was doing this stuff, and I really swear by all of these things. However, I did invest in a new product. Like I said, one that didn't really cause any oxidative stress, and I have been using it every day ever since, and I can't tell you enough great things about it. So you've heard about red light therapy, right? And you've heard about photobiomodulation, I'm assuming at this point, and you've heard about all these red light panels that everybody is looking into and purchasing, and how miraculous red light therapy can be to reduce inflammation, how it can help build collagen, how it can help increase mitochondrial ATP levels, and all that. So I started looking for a device shortly after I got sick. I wanted something that I knew was going to be easy for me to use, fairly affordable and something that I could use while I was laying down, because at that time I was feeling absolutely terrible and I knew I wasn't going to be able to get into my energy sauna. I'm recording this video here in the morning because I like to use my red light therapy devices first thing in the morning. There's a lot of scientific studies now to show that if you use it first thing in the morning, it's going to increase not only your mitochondrial ATP levels, just going to increase energy overall. You want to avoid using stronger light therapy devices later on in the afternoon. I've talked about this before, because during the night hours, especially if you're using a combination of any other color other than just red, it's gonna give you a little bit too much energy, and unfortunately it may keep you up at night. So again, in the earlier half of the morning, that's when you want to use it. One of the things that I invested in, there's two companies. There's one company called Lumen, another company called Inlight. It's essentially the exact same pads. I've already checked with the companies. They're manufactured by the exact same place. And so I only purchased from the Lumen because I had used one of these out of a clinic that was near me, and I had purchased from the Lumen just because that was what I knew at first. But I realize now that if I were to do it again, there is a 6-port system. It's much more expensive, but it comes through a company called Inlight. This is the company that I shared the free webinar through the other day, like 2 or 3 days ago. And the guy that I work with, he does an amazing job at telling you all the health benefits of using light therapy. And the reason why I settled on this particular technology, which if you can see, I'm wearing the pads on my body right now. I'm doing a protocol over my stomach. Every morning I get up and I do a protocol over my stomach area to help support. Again, I can't make any medical claims, but I do this because these particular pads, and I'll show you what they look like. So when you take the pads, let me see if I could do this. So when you take the pads, you'll see that the pads offer, let's do it like this. You'll see that the pads offer red light, and then I've got a pad here that offers red and blue and near infrared. So you got the red light, near infrared, and blue. And a lot of people have probably seen various different forms of pads like this, or they've seen the red light panels that you have to stand in front of. And some people are probably asking, well, what would be the purpose of using blue, especially if, I'm wearing blue blockers, that you don't want too much blue, getting too much blue into the eyes, especially after the night hours. There's a lot of misconceptions around blue. Blue is necessary in the earlier hours of the day. It's what tells your brain it's light outside. It's what tells your body to wake up. And blue can be very healing if used at the right time and used at the right wavelengths. I didn't want a hard panel. Like a lot of people, I don't want to name any names, but a lot of people are purchasing these larger panels. There's a couple of reasons why I didn't want the larger panels. Number one, I didn't want the larger panels because, first of all, you have to stand up in front of them. And as you can see here, I'm laying down quite comfortably, and I've got these pads over me, which is much more relaxing to me. Number two, you can see that right now I've got my shirt down, but normally I would put this on bare skin. You can see that the lights are directly attached to the skin. This makes a huge difference because when you're looking into wavelengths and joules, the idea is that in most cases, you want to be fairly close to the lights in order to get the benefit. And the problem with the panels is that you have to stand in front of them, so they're not directly on your body. Another thing that I don't like about the panels is that these pads are so flexible. I'll show you, they're so flexible that say if you're trying to reduce inflammation in a particular body part, you can essentially, and these come with straps, these pads come with straps, you can essentially buy whatever size pad you need. By the way, this company has, and so honestly, the lights, there's like a little port system down here too, and I'll explain that in a minute as well. But the one thing that's really great about this is that you can, I think at this point, there are probably upward of 20 different sizes of pads and different shapes of pads. Ones that you can put on your face, ones that you can put as on your head as a cap, others that you can wrap around your stomach or your liver, or ones that you can wrap around, say, a knee that's bothering you, or an elbow or a shoulder. Or they even have ones that you can put on your feet now that could possibly help with plantar fasciitis. So the idea is that the closer you get the lights to the area, the better the benefit you're going to receive from them. And so what I'm using them for is, first of all, the reason I decided on this particular technology is number one, again, like I said, it increases ATP levels, so energy in the body. It basically tends to charge up your cells so that your body could go and do what is needed to heal itself. So that's number one. The other reason why I really love and enjoy light therapy is because it's obviously anti-inflammatory and it helps to build connective tissue through collagen production. So, ladies, I know a lot of ladies are falling in love with red light therapy. And again, if these pads, even though it's a pad and it's not directly made for the face, they're so universal that you could like literally put this over your face. Like I wrap this around my jaw area because there's a particular frequency. Okay, let's get into this too before I jump on to something else. Mind you, like I just showed you, the pads can go pretty much anywhere. And again, some people will say that red light therapy is not good for the eyes. There's actually some studies to show that if you use red light therapy and near infrared in short spurts over the eyes, I definitely would close your eyes and place this over the eyes without glasses. It can actually help to reduce inflammation in the eyes. So just think about all the different things, because again, I can't make any medical claims that happens to the eyes that you could benefit from red light therapy over the eyes or near infrared. Again, same thing. I'm using it over my stomach because there are some studies that I've read that it reduces inflammation. It could also heal various different damaged tissues. So I'm placing it over the stomach area because I have Crohn's disease. So I'm using this to essentially, I believe, to heal my ulcerations, and I've seen major improvements. Not only that, if you ever have any type of stomach pain, for instance, there's a lot of women out there that use heating pads. By all means, please, people, I've talked about this in the past, and I've said this to many people. Do not use regular heating pads that you plug into the wall. They tend to give off a lot of non-native EMF, which can be very detrimental to the body and can expose you to non-ionizing radiation. Very, very, very important, because I've showed you guys before how that can inadvertently cause calcium influx and DNA damage. And I unfortunately believe could lead, again, this is not, I'm not making any medical claims, but I personally believe could lead to things like various forms of cancers, right? Just like if you're putting a cell phone to your head consistently, there have been documents and studies to show that that is very dangerous, or ear pods or anything that you plug into the wall, you shouldn't be placing on your body. So people would say, well, aren't these plugged into the wall? And again, this is the thing about these pads. And this is the thing I got concerned about all LLLT devices, so low-level laser light therapy. You can use lasers. They have found that you can also use LED diodes. But the problem is that there's a lot of technologies out there now that I'm not convinced are low EMF. So like I said, I use light therapy from this company and or InLight systems. And I also use technology when I want red light therapy or any colored light LED therapy from Bone Charge. I will include information about both of them down below. But Bone Charge has come out and said that their devices have been tested to be low EMF. I've reached out to InLight. Most red light panels are what are static light therapy, which means there isn't any pulsing. This company in particular that I'm using right now uses a proprietary software that allows the lights to pulse. And the reason being is that when you do that, you can hit not only various different forms of waveforms of light, but you can hit various different frequencies. So on my device here, I can actually set it to 7 different, well, in this case, it's 7 or 8 different settings where I'm hitting various different frequencies. So when you're buying this device, it's almost like, in my mind, it's almost like you're getting a frequency device and light therapy in one device, as opposed to just say the static devices where it's like a neoprene pad where you place in your body and it's just giving you red light, which is usually a 660, or it's giving you near infrared, which gets up to like 880. So the idea is that you're only getting those 2 wavelengths.
This because you've got those two wavelengths from the light itself and the addition of frequencies. And that's the other thing. You can set 7 different settings on here, which targets different areas of the body. So I can post that. I'll post that down below, which each of the settings could help do in the body. But they can help from, like you can use one setting to get rid of scar tissue and adhesions. You can use one setting to get rid of wounds that won't heal. You can use one particular setting to, build up collagen. There is a setting for the eyes. There's a setting for the ears. There's a setting that you can use if you think you have arthritic conditions that are due to bone spurs. There's a setting for that. So the idea is that there are multiple different settings on this particular device. Of course, again, this device that I have here is definitely going to be more expensive than, say, static systems. So, you're looking at a couple of $1,000s for a system like this, whereas you can find some of the static systems that are also very beneficial, like if you're using them for, say, like hair regrowth, or if you want to build collagen in your skin, or if you want to, help to rejuvenate the face and help with like wrinkles and things like that. You can definitely use a static system, and you could probably get one for under $1,000, probably around, I know Bone Charge has one for the face and the neck. I think it's on sale right now for about $700, I want to say, depending on if you just get the face pad or the neck and the chest pad. So those systems are very good as well. The reason why I settled on buying this is because I didn't want to just use this for anti-aging benefits. I wanted to use this for all sorts of health benefits. And this is just going to offer a little bit more flexibility. You've got the addition of the frequencies, then you've got the addition of the light therapy. Then I showed you in the beginning, this device uses red, blue, and you could also get now green, and there are also yellow pads as well. But just to keep this simple, I'm just going to go over the red and the blue. So the red and the blue is used for, so red, it's going to penetrate mostly the dermis, right? So red light is really good for that and helping with, dermal situations. It's also really good with calming your autonomic nervous system, I have found. It is very good for just energizing you. It is going to help with mitochondria and ATP. But where you're going to get a lot of the healing benefits at a deeper level, and it's going to go in, like depending on where you put it, it could go in slightly into the bone, is where you're going to use near infrared. So that is where you're going to get really the healing benefits. And that's where you're going to start to feel the anti-inflammatory effects of that. Blue light, on the other hand, is even shorter, I believe, than red. And the thing that's really healing about blue light is that it's really good for different types of skin ailments, especially when it comes to things that involve bacteria and infections. So for instance, like say my husband had shingles many years ago. If you apply red light therapy to that, it's going to actually slightly flare it up before it starts to heal. But the thing is, with blue light, especially if you're suffering with, say, nerve pain of any sort, you want to use blue light. And blue light will almost instantaneously help with relieving the pain that is caused from something like shingles, which is obviously the reactivation of the herpes viruses, right? So the idea is you want to use something like that. Or say if you had acne, obviously, like it's caused by yeast and bacteria on the skin or something along those lines, then you would want to use like blue light. So for those particular things, I personally got what was called a tricolor pad where it has red and blue, because when I developed my fistula, it was an opened infected wound. The way that so first of all, I had an open infected septic wound that I got the infection under control. And again, I'm not making any health claims. I'm not saying that this is what will happen with you. And I was able to deal with the infection without any antibiotics. The ways that I did that was I used a massive amount of various forms of ozone. I did ozone insufflation rectally. I was doing cupping on the area with ozone. I was using ozonated suppositories, and I was making my own suppositories. And I can give you the sources for the suppositories that I used if anybody's interested. But I was also applying my pad to the area. Of course, I won't put it on bare like this. You can actually just put this into a clear plastic bag and place it over the body. Of course, it's going to dim out some of the light, but it's still going to allow the light to be transmitted through. And I was placing that over the area of where I had my infected wound. So this helps with keeping the infection at bay. Another thing that so eventually it did heal. Mind you, I did a lot of other things. I changed my diet. I had to do what was called rectal dilation. I was using butyrate-based soaps to do rectal dilation in the tub. I was doing sitz baths. I was doing plenty of different things. But I'm just saying, if you have an infected wound that isn't as bad as mine was, again, blue light, you could use a tricolor or you could use the blue light directly to help benefit you that way. If you had like a surgical wound, I would probably start off with maybe a tricolor pad on that area. And then as you want to remove the scars, I would use like an adhesion setting and I would go over to red. So that explains that. Then what they've recently come out with 2 more colors. Yellow light, I'm not going to speak into it too much because I haven't used or I don't have a lot of experience with the yellow lights just yet. I am actually in the works of getting the green light panels. But the green light, and this is why I'm really interested in that, is because green light is used for other things. Say, for instance, you have fat pockets of cellulite. You want to use green. It can really help to shrink those fat pockets a lot quicker than, say, using a blue or a red light. Green light, the other benefit for green light is to use it over the eyes. And apparently it has been very beneficial for helping to stabilize different emotions. So for those of us that may be suffering with things like depression or anxiety or PTSD, I suffered with a lot of PTSD after I dealt with my last situation. In fact, I had to go through I've been going through a year worth of brain retraining, which, by the way, guys, has been so beneficial for my health. And I have been working with a practitioner who does something called spinal flow, also beneficial. But I've also been using lights on a regular basis. Red light is also going to be beneficial over the eye area and just on the body in general to bring the system back into proper resonance and balance. And there are different frequencies that you can use for these things. By the way, there are even frequencies that you can use on this device to help balance out hormonal imbalances. And one of the things that I had been concerned about with everything that had been happening to me in the last couple of years was that I believe I'm perimenopausal. I'm going to be 45 years old. And a lot of women who have autoimmune diseases, as soon as their body goes through a dysregulation in their hormones, it tends to flare up their autoimmune conditions again, even if they've been in remission for years. So this is another thing that I'm dealing with. So anyway, long story short, this is why I went with this system. Like I said, it's just so universal. It does so many different things. It's like you're getting a frequency device, you're getting light therapy, you're getting near infrared, but you're also getting red. You can opt in to get green, you can opt in to get blue, you can opt in to get yellow at some point. So like it just covers a lot of different things. And I knew that even though this system was expensive, I know that, and again, sometimes they'll hold specials and stuff like that, but you do have to purchase this particular device through an authorized rep. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, you can email me. Definitely email me at thehealinghandsduo@gmail.com, and I can send you over a video that we just did recently that goes over what the light pads can offer. And then if you're interested in purchasing, I can give you my contact where you can purchase the device. Again, if you don't want to go something like this and you're just interested in some of the benefits, like in terms of anti-aging and just a little bit of mood stabilization and increasing your mitochondria, because I still think static red light therapy can help, and you want to do that, then you can definitely go over and check out my links on Bone Charge, because they're having pretty amazing Black Friday sales right now too as well. And I've considered getting even the face pad, even if it is static light therapy, just because these pads can somewhat be a little bit awkward to put over the face. By all means, you can still use them over the face. It's just a little bit more awkward because there isn't a cutout for your nose and your eyes. And the thing is, I've reached out to the company. I'm hoping that they will develop a pad eventually for just the face. They haven't done that yet. They are right now concentrating on the pad that they recently released, which is a helmet. And the helmet can be used, again, red light therapy. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that placing red light therapy on the head for women out there, if you're having problems losing hair, or men, has shown that it can actually stimulate the scalp and stimulate the hair follicle. If you're mixing it with red and near infrared, placing it on the head daily can help with hair regrowth. If it does contain red light therapy, there are settings for the helmet that there's a cheaper helmet. Of course, this system has a helmet too. It's a little bit more expensive. It's in the video, where if you're using the helmet, the near infrared in these particular wavelengths with this device, the near infrared and the red light therapy, it can actually penetrate the skull, which some people are now using to help with various different forms of brain inflammation. So guys, there's just so many possibilities. I just really, really wanted to share that with you guys, because like I said, there are some specials happening right now, but at the same time, the light therapy for me has been monumental. Light therapy has been monumental to my healing for the last 17 years. But when I get into my machines, it does require your body to have some of its own strength and energy, because the equipment that I had prior to this was very geared towards detoxification. And when your body is in a state of oxidative stress, the last thing that you want to do is do any sort of detoxification. I mean, you can do maybe light oral detoxification. You don't want to do any heavy duty chelation therapy or anything along those lines, because normally what will happen is with people who are in a dire state, they will get more sick, especially because the body requires energy to detox, right? And a lot of people will go through Herxheimer reactions, or they'll just have reactions because it does create a little bit more oxidative stress. So in light of that, when you are wanting to do the opposite and support the body and to limit your oxidative stress, I would strongly suggest something that's a little bit less invasive, like using things like light therapy, and some of these lower frequency devices. Like even Rife could be, I've used Rife and pulsed plasma technology and, things like zappers and all that, and, scalar technology and stuff for many, many, many years. Even that can be a little bit harsh on the body when the body doesn't have enough energy to sustain a detoxification reaction. Or a purging process. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that. I know this is fairly long, but I definitely wanted to share that with you today. And again, like I said, you can start off with what they call a pain buster pads, or get a tricolor pad. I chose to get a tricolor pad and one red light therapy pad, because this can be placed over a knee. It could be placed over an elbow in order to treat my hair. Not that I'm losing hair, but 2 years ago when I did get really sick during malnourishment, I lost a lot of hair. You can actually just place this over the head. You could place it at the back of the head. It's just that if you have some of these smaller pads like I have, you may have to, because there are larger pads, they're more expensive, of course. You're just going to have to do longer sessions, and you're going to have to move the pads around the body and sit here for a longer session, as opposed to doing, say, if you could afford to do a 6-port pads system, then that means you could buy pads and place them over various different parts of the body all at the same time and get it all done in say like a 20-minute session. So anyway, that's it. If you wanted to know more, I can definitely send you the 1 hour, I think it's like an hour and 20-minute video on all the benefits of light therapy if you're using, say, the InLight system. And if you're just interested in a static system, I will post the links down below as to where you can take a look at some of the great offers that are being offered by Bone Charge right now. And again, Bone Charge also offers great blue blockers. Again, I use my blue blockers all the time, been using them for, in fact, I've had Gunners and Bone Charge blockers for many, many, many years. These are my Gunners. I don't have my Bone Charge blockers with me right now. I actually have a few different ones. These ones are a little bit lighter. I like to use these ones during the day. Then you can use the red or the completely amber ones later on in the evening. Or again, you're going to use amber when you're looking at blue light, like a device like I'm using right now, a cell phone. or you're going to use red after sunset, I should say. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Anyway, I'm not going to get into all the negative effects of blue light after dark and what that does to you, and what that does to the melanopsin and to your circadian biology. I have explained that on my website as well, and there is a study that you could read there as well if you're interested. I will also post that down below. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to answer your questions. And if I don't have the answers to your questions, then I will definitely reach out to my supplier and ask them for you, and we'll see if we can get you an answer. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye.